And we are live. Hi, Gad. How are you?
Hi, David. I'm very well, and you?
Very well too. On this 1st of July, 2022. Happy to be here with you again. This collaboration with the Second Lab to answer some of your mentees' questions, which is always a pleasure. It's always exciting to have questions from our audience, right? In a certain way, and from our target audience in any case. So yeah, thanks for being here today for another PhD Dojo.
Yeah, and happy Canada Day. It's
Yes,
today,
it
so
is.
it's a free day in Canada. So we enjoy our free days.
Exactly,
So
and a
yeah,
bunch of people in Quebec are moving because it's for them. It's moving day. A lot of people have their rent
mhm.
changes happening on the 1st of July. So for a lot of people, it's that type of holiday.
Yeah, exactly. So the question today is from Roman Oliverio.
Hmm.
She's from Polytechnique Montreal.
Okay.
And the question is what to do after a PhD except R&D, so
Hmm.
research and development or
I see.
professorship. I can include that into it.
Hmm.
It's research in academia. So what can I do else if I have a PhD, or even if I have a master PhD, or if I'm doing a postdoc? What can I do
Mm.
else
So if I
except
don't if I don't
R&D?
want to be doing research, okay, after the PhD, I think that kind of parallels another question which often is, does it make sense after the PhD that I don't want to keep doing research? And I think we're going to answer that today. It does make sense, and there's different things you can do. So I'm super happy that Roman shared this question with you, and that we're
Yeah,
able to talk about it today.
yeah. So yeah, there's different way to bring the question and to answer to the questions, but of course, maybe some of you after your research, you are a bit fed up with research. I mean, research in the lab. What I'm saying, and you would like to do something else, and it's totally possible because with a PhD you can do many kind of jobs. We so so this discussion can stay for 2 hours. We can talk about different kind of positions, different kind of jobs. It's a very broad topic, but of course,
Yes.
yes, you can do a lot of jobs. So also, what I would like to we can go deeper into it, but what I would like to say first is we are not talking just to only PhD in science, engineering, technology, and math. We are talking also for people in humanities because
Hmm.
these the type of jobs that we can talk about are also for everybody who has a PhD.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's more related to the fields. Sometimes it's more so you need to do a particular field like engineering or law or something else.
Hmm.
But sometimes not. You can do these type of jobs um, in in industry setting, but the job could be acquired, but could be filled by somebody in law or somebody in social science, but
Hmm.
also for somebody in engineering. Really depends what kind of job. So actually, I think there's three things to figure out: is the type of job, the
Hmm.
field, and what kind of company do you want to go in. So is it a startup company or it's a large big company? So
Hmm.
figure out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need to figure this out. So one thing that it looks to me is, and we talked a little bit before. There's, you have a list of possibilities to present, but I think there's kind of a common line in all of these positions that connect them to the PhD profile. Can you talk a
Mhm.
little bit about that? So, because again, if we're talking about non-research jobs, we're kind of saying, what other skills that are not my research skills that I can leverage in the job market? Basically, that's the question that I understand.
Yeah, exactly. So if you do research, basically, I don't know for you if you are in art or because sorry, I'm an engineer and a scientist. So if you are in art, I don't know if you follow the same process, but I would say that in social science, in math, engineering, you have all the same kind of process. That's the same process for centuries. You do a literature review first, and then you make an hypothesis. You ask a question, you would like to answer to the questions, and you do it by research. You start doing experiments, but also you can talk to people to have the answers and make statistics analysis. After this, you communicate your science, so you transfer your knowledge. You can also, if you found something very great in the lab, you can protect it, and so you sell your science at the end. So that's pretty much the broad process. But if you love doing literature review or analyze data, jobs like an analyst or business analyst or market analyst or VC analyst, so you work in venture capitals, that's all that jobs are very interesting for you if you like sitting at the desk, making research, asking yourself some question, or asking question to others. That's this type of job is for you. So everything which is analyst, even data scientist, is very great.
Which is very on vogue today.
Yeah, on vogue. And also another type of job on vogue is UX researchers. Very interesting.
So user experience, right?
Yeah, user experience researchers, very interesting kind of jobs. Then if you go to the next step, so you made your literature review or you found out, it's everything related to the experiment. We decide to not talk about R&D, so R&D jobs are here mostly, but you can think about like more in an engineering setting. So you can think about quality assurance or quality control type of jobs, very important. Verification, validation, if you work in pharmaceutical or medtech, it's very important.
Or chemical or whatever, yeah.
Chemical engineering, process engineering, all that type of jobs. Even the production engineering, fabrication, all that type of jobs are very interesting. And then if you analyze the data and you have to sell it, so it's all the technical sales specialist type of job you can work. So a PhD can say like, well, sales, I'm not doing that. But actually, if you sell your research, you talk to somebody and you would like to make a collaboration or sell your research, finally you sell a little bit. So this is this kind of
there's
type
a little
of
bit of I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Now it's true that the thing with selling, it's one of the terms and it's one of the things that when people go into graduate school and into research, is something they don't want to do. But eventually, there is some aspect of selling and of selling your project to get funding, etc., etc. So I agree that there's something there. Yeah.
Sales require a specific profile, but there's also all the jobs in marketing. So when I talk about marketing, you can go to a website who sells product in science. So who's designed this website? Somebody in marketing. So if you like designing your science, and if you go deeper, you need a PhD to make the poster on how you will use the product. So this is more like scientific designer or scientific communicator, science communicator in general, or somebody. If you want to communicate or vulgarize the science, more scientific journalist, as communicate the science. I'm thinking also about all the jobs. If you publish, all the job of publishing. So publisher, editor, scientific editor, or you can, even if it's really open to humanities because they are. So it's all the people who work in journals, scientific journals or peer-reviewed journals, have a master or a PhD.
That's true.
All the jobs about writing, writers, medical writers. Yeah.
Same thing there. And one thing that I'm thinking, and this can these can be jobs at university, but not in
Mhm.
research. So now universities have communications departments where there's knowledge transfer that needs to be done about the research that's done in university, and there's positions there for you too.
Mhm.
And because you being a researcher, you having that background, you are the best person to have these conversations with researchers and help them bring out in a more popularized way, or in a more adapted or less jargony way, whatever research results they have, for example. So knowledge transfer is a good one too.
Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking about also like at the university you have a lot of jobs where which is not research related, but who support research. So
Yeah.
like all the counselors, all the advisors, grant advisors at the
Yes. Yes.
faculties and universities. Um, if you want, and then you have all these jobs in what I would call innovation and technology transfer,
Mm-hmm.
or intellectual properties. So that IP lawyer.
Yep.
It lawyer requires more studies after your PhD. You need to have a bachelor in law, more than your PhD, but it's possible.
But
Or
you can be an IP officer, right, without having a law degree. There's a place, in there in the type of those types of offices for people who come with a PhD, as I remember, without having. But then you need to go get some certification, I believe.
no, exactly. So if you are a patent agent, for example,
There you go.
so you work in a law firm and you are a patent agent, you need to have a kind of certificate. You have to be mentored by a patent agent,
Okay.
somebody who's already patent agent for a couple of years, and then you have to have you need a certificate. I think it's national certificate,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then you are a patent agent. On the other
Very good.
side of the scope, in patent world, you have the patent examiner, who's an
Okay.
employee of the government that review patents and make literature review and see if the patent is valid.
Is
So
valid, is sound. That's
yeah.
very cool. That's interesting, that because I was going to mention, we're talking about a lot of jobs, outside academia mainly, and you
Mhm.
just mentioned government, and I believe that there are many opportunities for PhDs in government. Do you have anything
Yes,
on that?
yes, for sure. I took a list of it. So
Ah, there you go.
you can imagine that people who work in fundings. So in
Yes, funding agencies, of course.
funding agencies. So in Quebec, you have the FRQ. People from the FRQ have a PhD, so or masters. So they did science before.
Hmm.
You have people from NSERC at the federal. They have PhDs too. So all these people have a PhD and they work at the government.
And it's
Um,
interesting because these are positions where somehow you stay really close to science, although you're not doing the research.
mhm,
And because often I get this question of, oh, if I leave academia, if I leave research, how can I be? How am I going to be stimulated by whatever I find as a job? And here are all these positions where
mhm.
not only you'll be stimulated, and it doesn't have to be one of these positions, but these specific ones in funding agencies, you really you're closer to what's being done, and the forefront of research than many people, because you're there evaluating it, and well, saying yes or no if they're going to get funding. Which.
Yes, yes, it's very important. Of course, actually, this type of just bringing committees together of professors or business people or people to make a committee, and of course you can read the science and understand the science, and
Mhm.
you can figure out if the grant will be accepted or not. But then it goes to a committee, and you have to bring people together to
Mhm.
evaluate things. I'm thinking also about policy advisor or ethics advisor.
Yeah.
You need a PhD into it. So, and not necessarily science PhD. It's very open to humanity PhDs.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and policy things like that. Even the different government agencies. It can be environment. It could be
yeah.
economy. It can be so many things where your profile as a PhD is going to be useful and valued, but not to do directly with research.
Mhm.
And then it can be in the social sciences, like you said, and it can be in like life sciences, but it can also just be in economics, for example.
Yeah, and maybe every PhD that listen to us can think about like, well, maybe it's too boring for me. I need to be excited, But actually, not. It's very exciting. A
I'm
very
sure it
exciting
is.
jobs. You have a new grant to manage. For me, I'm finding it's exciting.
Hmm.
There's there's a lot of there's a lot of things that are very exciting outside of research.
Hmm.
Um,
And I remember I talked with Adriana Bankston in one of my interviews on Papa
mhm,
PhD, and she's working in policy in the States. So
mhm,
she's in Washington, and what like gets her going is the fact that the policies that she works on are policies to do with the future of research and how the evolution of the, let's say, the postdoc career. And so it's you know it's things that don't impact her today, but she can feel that it's going to impact people who are coming after her in the same trajectory that she came. So no, it's and this is just one thing. I'm just thinking of academia, but being in these positions where your decisions and your input can have impact on ecology, on real life people and things and events, can be
mhm.
really, really exciting. I agree with you.
Yeah, it's very impactful work. I agree with you. There's also like something that we didn't talk about is all the business related jobs. Um, so like business development,
Mm-hmm.
um, thinking about also in marketing, you have product manager, application scientist,
Mm-hmm.
application engineer. So all that jobs are related. Sounds very R&D, but you have a foot in R&D and a foot in marketing because you have
Mm-hmm.
to sell product too. Um, and of course, product. I mean, business development, and of course, entrepreneur. It's a very
Entrepreneurship, of course.
entrepreneurship. It's another way to do it, and actually entrepreneurship and about the career path is you can start in a position and change after this, even if
Mm-hmm.
you are in a big company or in a startup company. You can start as a business developer and or somebody who's more project manager.
Mm-hmm.
You can start from that and start your own company after this. So it's
Yeah.
possible. Yeah.
So one thing I've heard is, I've read somewhere actually, is that PhDs. It was on a report, and I don't. Anyway, I should check my sources, but that PhDs often, because employers don't, are still not well educated or don't really know what to expect from a PhD, they tend to start on positions that are less than desirable, let's say, for
Hmm.
the PhD.
Let's
So
say
lower
yeah.
positions, but what I read is that eventually, once they get into, and once they prove themselves in that first 6 months or that first year, they evolve in the company faster than other employees because of all the potential they bring, because of the all the learning capacity that they have. Is this something that you've verified also on your side? Because
Yeah.
some people are like, oh, why am I, after all these years, I'm starting with this salary in this position? It's a bit unfair. I don't know if you have a reflection on that.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, yeah. So it's sometimes it's in big companies the policy, like the policy of the company, the culture of the company is you enter at the entry level.
Mm-hmm.
So you go to the entry level, you are senior engineer or something like that. So you start with this, and this is because you leave your PhD. I mean, you leave your PhD. you finish your PhD, you go directly to industry. So or you still in academia and you leave the academia and you go to the industry. Some company would say like, okay, let's start with an entry position and how see how it goes, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the skills that you bring, your skills that you learn during your PhD, and that directly applicable to your jobs. And finally, people figure out that, well, this guy has a PhD and is not a master student or a bachelor student who's, I don't know, a 25 years old guy and doing
Mm-hmm.
like go outside of their undergraduate studies. It's not the same. So you bring a lot of value to your company, and people recognize this value and the impact that you bring with you,
Mm-hmm.
and promote you maybe quickly into
Mm-hmm.
the company.
Where I wanted to go is because the Roman asked this question, and of course I think the wish and the dream is to find that first position and have it to be the perfect one right away, with the salary you expect, and with the whatever the position, the job description that you want. And I tend to tell people to be a little bit, to be ready to, or prepare to just be a little bit humble for that first thing, that first position, especially the first one right after the PhD, because somehow the employer is kind of doing kind of a leap of faith in taking you in. And so it's kind of a give and take thing, where allow yourself to maybe hit, enter at a lower place that you envision yourself, but then be sure that once you're in there, your abilities, your skills will come through, and then you'll be able to evolve. And also, so that's one thing, is allow yourself to be humble at when you get your first foot in the door. And
Mm-hmm.
I'd like your comment on that after. And the second one is, which is what you said, is trust that once you're in there, you'll be able to find a place where you'll be fulfilled, you'll be stimulated, and you'll be valued by the company.
Yes, as you said, like yeah, you have to be humble with the first job that you have. Um, and yeah, even if you are in the entry level and after 1 year or 2 year you're not satisfied for your job, in this 1 year or 2 years you learn a lot of things. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
it's not the end of academia, you learn nothing, you continue to learn something. So you learn your job, and you learn a lot of new things, and you make another kind of network too. And maybe this network, if you're still happy with the job, I mean, you can continue with the job. You will be promoted. You have in companies, you have evaluation every year or every 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
to be promoted, and you maybe your salary will increase. Maybe your first salary will be unfair. This is maybe what you think, but you can negotiate the salary, and you can continue to be promoted into the company.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not satisfied with the job, you can leave and having another job in another company.
Yeah, and the thing is, once you've had that first year of experience, then you're not only for the next job conversation, you won't be a fresh out of PhD person. You already have 1 year of industry, and that counts.
Mm-hmm.
And you can present that. Plus, and tell me, because I know you talk, you have you interface with companies, and you know this better than me by experience. I believe companies today, especially medium and large companies, are ready to let people, move horizontally and vertically, like in the company. You don't get into this first position and then you're not imprisoned in that track. You, especially being having a lot of potential as
Yeah,
usually you are, you can say, okay, I got into marketing, but I want to go into strategy or something like that.
and yeah, and actually, it's companies are very open to it, because if you are in a large company, you start in R&D and you move to marketing, for example, or you
Mm-hmm.
go to another place, like because you want to learn new things.
Yeah.
That's very great. But if you go to this new department or new service or new setting, you bring all the things that you learn from the department you were.
Of
So
course.
you have a better broad vision from the company. And I mean the company's direction, the company management love it. So they maybe and sometimes they will push you to
Oh yeah,
move
to
department to
transition.
department. So uh, I remember I talked to somebody who were R&D manager,
Okay.
and she moved from a department who were specifically in a specific topic,
Yeah.
and she moved to another department because of the management said like, okay, move to the other department, maybe they will need, there is an open position in this department,
Okay.
and it's completely different. One was, let's say, mechanical engineering, and the other one was more material science ish.
Okay.
So she moved to the other department with the same kind of position, but in a different field.
Oh wow.
So
S-
so yeah, yeah.
So
It's
this shows two things to me: is don't be afraid that that first job is not the perfect one that you dreamed about. Second thing, it shows to me that for sure there's always a way to find a stimulating, something stimulating. So leaving academia is not the end of you being intellectually stimulated. Of course, if
yeah.
you aren't, then you keep looking for a better job and one that will stimulate you. But there are many out there.
hmm Exactly. And of course, there's many. I mean, there's many type of careers that you can have, and this is basically your choice.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk about maybe 20, 30 positions today,
Mm-hmm.
but every positions are open to PhD. I'm thinking about recruitment, scientific recruitments. So
Yeah.
a lot of positions are open to PhDs. This is you to figure out what you want.
Yeah, I've seen people who are like in banking, in like PhD in history, and is in like started doing project management, and is now in banking, in sustainable banking. So many different things
hmm
that you wouldn't expect, and even people coming from. I'm telling you, like Chris Humphrey. I'm thinking about his PhD was in medieval literature, I believe, and he's
Yeah.
in banking now. So,
Okay.
the way you're formatted after a PhD, more than the
hmm
subject you worked on, is what you can leverage, and it can be leveraged in many different contexts.
hmm
Gad,
That's
we're,
good.
we're getting to the end of today's PhD Dojo. Like you said, we
hmm
covered a bunch of, you mentioned a bunch of different actual job, like the positions that you can have. We talked about why you can aspire to have to be in different, even in government, which I think is something people often ignore or kind of don't think
hmm
about first. First thing. Is there, for someone who is doubting and maybe questioning themselves, after listening to this episode, there's one of these things that interests them. What would be a next step to learn a little bit more about what this position looks
Yeah.
like,
It's
and yeah.
it's a very good question. So what we're giving you today is a lot of type of jobs. Companies to company, it could be a little bit different. I remember an R&D engineer in a company, it's engineer three in another
Okay.
company. So it's very different. Um, so you have a lot of keywords, and you can think about like, well, when you talked about analyst, it could be interesting for me. So what I would advise is, now you have a lot of keywords, to go on LinkedIn, to go on Google, and you type your keywords. You can go on LinkedIn, like, I'm looking for an analyst position. Okay, so you can have a job description. So learn about
Hmm.
what is it exactly, and you have a bunch of people that have this kind of type of position, and you can
Hmm.
contact them to have an informational interview. So I think that's the next step.
That's perfect, and I would say exactly the same. So I won't add to that. You nailed it,
hmm
and I think these the question of conversations with people is is key. Is key to
Mhm.
to knowing, because one of the things is you need to some of these things might interest you, and then you see the description and say, okay, I had an idea of this and it really doesn't fit with me. So
Yeah.
talking with people and asking, okay, what does the day-to-day look like is really important. You can even discuss salary, etc. If you're not at the moment of looking for a job, it's a conversation you can have in a relaxed way, to kind of start gathering information.
Mhm. Exactly. And if it's not for you, you can come back to zero and say like, oh, okay, talk about business development. What's that position like?
Hmm,
So
hmm.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, cool. Gad,
good.
this was great. I love having these questions from the second lab.
Mhm.
Thanks, Roman, for sharing the question with us. I hope it helped you, and I hope that as it helped you, it will help a lot of people out there who are wondering, what can I do out there with my degree.
Mhm.
So again, we'll be here in a couple of weeks again to answer another question. Thanks for those who watched this either live or later on Twitter, on LinkedIn. It's always appreciated if you leave a like. Always appreciated too. More even if you leave a comment. Gad and I would love to have feedback on these episodes, on whether the question resonates with you or something we said. Will always love that. Gad,
Yes.
I think you'd agree.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And if you have yourself questions, like type the question in the chat, and
Yes,
or you can contact us with a question, and we will talk about it in the next episodes.
it'll be a pleasure to cover your question out there
Mhm.
on the show here. And now I just have a last little message. I kind of want to grow the Papa PhD team, which is just me as of yet, since it's we're gonna hit 3 years mid July, and it'd be great that on the fourth year of Papa PhD we'd be a team. So if you're good at graphic design, if you're curious about how podcast works from the inside, like audio editing, promotion, if you're good on social networks, etc., drop me a line, like we used to say in the past. You can write to me at david@papaphd.com, and let's talk. I'd really love to bring this podcast to a different level, and I think it takes more people. Gad, you know how it is, right? You need a team
Mhm.
to do certain things.
Yeah, exactly. So you need to be surrounded by people that are better than you in different kind of things. So
There you go.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, you need a team. That's very important.
There you go. And Gad, on your side, if people are curious about the second lab, where can they find information?
You can go in our website. We are thinking about we moving our business model, and we
Okay.
are deeply thinking about it. And new things will come um, in September.
Okay. Cool.
There will be, I hope, some information over the summer. So we will
Very good.
keep in touch. Go to our LinkedIn page and like us, and you will be informed in the
Perfect. And as
in
always,
LinkedIn. Yeah.
in LinkedIn. Perfect. As always, I'll share that link in the show notes. All right,
Good.
everyone. Thank you so much for having been with us on this PhD Dojo with the second lab. It was a great pleasure, Gad,
Mhm.
and I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. See you.
Bye.
Bye.